In the shadows of Los Angeles, where the sun-kissed streets masked a growing unease, the early life of Richard Ramirez began in El Paso, Texas. Born on February 29, 1960, to a Mexican immigrant family, Ramirez was the youngest of 5 children. His childhood was marred by trauma. His father, a former Juarez police officer, was abusive, instilling fear in the household. By the age of 10, Ramirez was introduced to a darker world when he was influenced by his cousin Miguel, a Vietnam War veteran who showed him gruesome photographs of the horrors he had witnessed. These images, coupled with the chaos of his home life, began to shape Ramirez's warped psyche. By the time he migrated to California in the late 1970s, he was already a product of violence and depravity. Initially, he lived in the shadows, indulging in petty crimes and drug use. But soon, the whispers of his sinister intentions began to echo through the streets. In the spring of 1984, Richard Ramirez emerged from obscurity, becoming a name synonymous with terror. Dubbed the Night Stalker, he roamed the neighborhoods of Los Angeles, preying on the vulnerable during the dark hours of the night. His choice of victims was chillingly random. He targeted men and women, young and old, establishing no discernible pattern. Each attack was a harrowing reflection of his sadistic nature, a dance of violence that left behind a trail of blood and fear. Ramirez's modus operandi was both brutal and bizarre. He often broke into homes, attacking his victims with a range of weapons, from guns to knives, employing a level of violence that was both shocking and grotesque. He had a penchant for using satanic symbols, often leaving behind pentagrams at the crime scenes. These markings fueled the nightmares of a city already on edge, as Ramirez's gruesome acts became intertwined with a narrative of occultism that gripped the public imagination. It was not just about murder. It was about sending a message, about instilling terror that would last long after his victims were gone. As the body count rose, so did the panic. News reports flooded the airwaves, and communities banded together in fear, holding meetings and increasing neighborhood watch efforts. The police, overwhelmed by the mounting evidence and the sheer audacity of Ramirez's attacks, struggled to piece together the clues left behind. Despite the mounting evidence of a serial killer in their midst, the LAPD was paralyzed by the fear that gripped the city. Ramirez became a ghost, slipping through their fingers, each crime more audacious than the last. As the summer of 1985 wore on, the Night Stalker continued his reign of terror, striking fear into the hearts of Angelenos. Mothers kept their children close, and couples began sleeping with weapons at their sides. The media fanned the flames of fear, transforming Ramirez into a cultural specter, a villain who thrived on the chaos he created. But amidst the terror, the tide began to turn. On August 30th, 1985, a group of local residents in the Boyle Heights neighborhood encountered Ramirez after he attempted to flee the scene of yet another attack. They recognized him from the police sketches plastered across the city, their fear now morphing into collective determination. Fueled by adrenaline and a shared will to end the nightmare, they chased him down, subduing him until the police arrived. The capture of Richard Ramirez marked a turning point in the case, but the horror was far from over. As he stood before the court, his demeanor was unsettling. He often flashed a disconcerting smile, exhibiting an eerie confidence that sent shivers down the spines of those who watched. The trial became a media circus, with Ramirez's charisma and the sensational nature of his crimes drawing in crowds and reporters alike. Survivors took the stand, their testimonies weaving together a tapestry of terror that exposed the breadth of his brutality. They spoke of the moments when they faced death, of the darkness that seeped into their lives, forever altering their sense of safety. The trial unfolded like a gruesome theater, with the prosecution painting a vivid picture of a man driven by violence and depravity. Ramirez's defense attempted to argue that he was not in control of his actions, suggesting that he was under the influence of drugs and possibly possessed by demons. But the evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for just over a day before delivering a verdict that shook the community. On September 20th, 1989, Richard Ramirez was found guilty on all counts, including 13 counts of murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, 11 counts of sexual assault, and 14 counts of burglary. His sentencing was swift. He received the death penalty, a fitting consequence for the reign of terror he had unleashed upon so many. As he sat on death row, Ramirez became a figure of infamy, his name etched into the annals of true crime history. He continued to draw media attention, often seeking the spotlight through interviews and correspondence with admirers who were both fascinated and horrified by his story. Despite his heinous acts, he became somewhat of a cult figure, a testament to the dark allure of evil that continues to captivate society. His years on death row were a mix of defiance and delusion, as he clung to a belief that he would ultimately escape his fate. Ramirez's story ended on June 7, 2013, when he died of complications related to B-cell lymphoma at the age of 53. The Night Stalker had become a ghost once more, but the fear he instilled in Los Angeles lingered, a haunting reminder of the fragility of safety. The case left scars on the community, a chilling chapter in the history of crime that underscored the darkness lurking beneath the surface of everyday life. As we reflect on the legacy of Richard Ramirez, we are reminded of the fragility of humanity and the shadows that can lie within. If you enjoyed this exploration into one of the most infamous true crime stories, consider liking this video and subscribing for more tales from the dark side of human nature.